Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Ascione with the City of Santa Clarita Planning Division, here to talk to you tonight about our planning effort for the Lyons Corridor Plan. I've got a little PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be showing you tonight with some of the graphics of that plan. As some of you might know, back in June, our City Council actually adopted a new general plan for the City of Santa Clarita. And as a result of that new general plan, we have to actually update our zoning guidelines. So we're currently in the process of doing a comprehensive update of our zoning code. And as part of that update, we're going to create these corridor plans. And the idea behind these corridor plans is really to promote business development that upgrades and revitalizes some of our older communities. This corridor chapter will be within our UDC, and it will actually be considered a subpart of that UDC. So the first one that we're working on right now is the Lyons Corridor Plan, and that's what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about tonight. But in the future, like Alan said, we will be looking at Sierra Highway, Soledad Railroad, and Bouquet, and possibly some other corridors that this type of planning process might be appropriate for. These corridor plans are going to take on a form-based code type approach, and this is really a great graphic to kind of demonstrate what a form-based code really is. The top of this graphic represents zoning. So this would be a couple of blocks with just zoning, and really that just dictates this block that you see. And also another tool that we currently have in the city is what we call design guidelines. All of our communities have them. So basically what our design guidelines do is you take that block that is zoning and you basically make it look nice with facades. Form-based codes really integrate these two concepts together. And the idea behind form-based codes is to make neighborhoods that you want to visit, you want to walk around in. It's easy to use and easy to look at. So in going back to Lyons, we really started our process by taking a look at the current conditions of the Lyons corridor. And in-house, our staff divided the corridor into 23 different sections and actually took pictures of every building and every development along the corridor, as you can see on the bottom of your screen. And what we got out of all this information is that our planning area was 102 acres. There's currently well over 1 million square feet of mostly commercial development. You have close to 3,000 residences within a 5-minute walk of the corridor, and a little over 5,000 people within a 10-minute walk of the Lyons corridor. And also something to point out is that we currently have 18 bus stops along the entire corridor as well. We also had our graphics department put together maps that will be in the documents, as you can see on the screen here. So we actually have an assessment of all the current public landscaping on Lyons, an assessment of all the current building heights, and the demonstration showing you the 5-minute walk and the 10-minute walk. We've currently, to date, held quite a bit of outreach on this plan before we've even started to create the document. And I'll go over some of this here. We really started the plan back in April. And what we did back in April was we reached out to all the property owners. Believe it or not, the entire corridor has only 70 property owners. And back in April, we sent a letter to them, giving them the opportunity to come to City Hall or to talk with the city staff to really see what they had to say and what they thought the future of their property would entail. We also launched a website in May, and I'll go over that website a little bit. We've also sent out letters to business owners. We've done extensive outreach. I'm going to talk more about the outreach, so that's where I'll talk about the rest of this stuff. We've met with multiple committees, including yours tonight, New Hall Redevelopment Committee, the Old Town New Hall Association, 2 public outreach meetings, and we had a study session with our Planning Commission. If you haven't already viewed the website, I encourage you to do so. And since our launch on May 1st, we've had over 5,000 people actually view it in just the 5 months that it's been around. We owe a lot of that to really trying to promote it, both thanks to the Signal for posting articles talking about our website. We've done numerous This Week in Santa Clarita videos, if you've seen our local TV channel or our YouTube feed. We've used Facebook, we've used Twitter. We've sent out postcards to a 1,000-foot radius and anyone who's interested in basically listening. And what's great about this website is it really gives the community the opportunity to provide their feedback on the website. So, we all have busy lives, so the people who can't come to these meetings that we have or are busy to these meetings that we're having or unable to visit the Planning Commission or City Council, this website really serves as a tool where you could actually provide your feedback. We have all of our maps on the website where people could, blog and place comments. And we also have a survey. If you've ever heard of SurveyMonkey, we have a survey on there just really to get feedback from the community as we go forward with drafting this plan. And so far, it's been a pretty great tool in obtaining feedback. So that's SantaClaritaCorridorPlan.com. So this is just an example of some of the survey results. And you can read here what George has to say. He's lived here for over 30 years, and he's pretty happy that we're doing this project. And what I thought was really interesting about the comment that he made was that he would love to see center medians all the way up to the freeway. Well, our city is already working on that, and those medians are just about complete. So he made this comment back in May. And this chart over here, too, the question, which is a little hard to read, so I'll read it for you. It says, in your opinion, what would make Lyons Avenue better? And the blue graph on there, which is well over 75% of respondents, and we've had about 130 people take the survey so far, 75% said better looking buildings and development. So, I mean, we really took that to heart as we're planning this document and looking towards the future of Lyons. On July 21st, we held our first public outreach meeting, and we held it at Old Orchard Park in the community room, if you're familiar with that. And we had a really good turnout. We had over 70 people come to that meeting and provide their comments and really give us direction on how this document should look. This is an example of one of the exercises that we had at that meeting. So we actually had 23 different maps out on the tables, basically with pictures and aerials of every property along Lyons Avenue. And we asked people with stickers to rate the current buildings, whether they liked it, disliked it, or if it needed improvement, and also the current parking conditions. So people really were able to do this exercise and embrace the idea of rating the current development. And it provided very beneficial information to us as we move forward with this planning process. This was another exercise at that meeting where we were asking people about the future of Lyons Avenue. And the exercise you see to the top left-hand corner of your screen was what architectural styles and product type was appropriate for Lyons. And we also asked the public what type of frontage types for buildings were appropriate. And it's a little hard to see on the screen, but we actually had examples of different pictures so people could actually see what they were rating and had a good idea of it. On October 13th, we held our second public outreach meeting, and this one was at the Old Orchard 1 Clubhouse, which is just directly behind where our first meeting was. And at that meeting, we had a little less as far as participants. We had about 35 people attend this event, and we were able to share the results. And as you can see on the screen, we had graphics and easy-to-read exhibits of the results of that last meeting and also share everything that we've been hearing on our website. And once again, too, all this information is on our website. So if anyone who wasn't able to attend that meeting was able to review the results, and if they didn't agree with the results, they were able to also provide their feedback as well. Just a couple more exhibits, basically showing in the bottom right-hand corner that Victorian, Craftsman, and Tudor were the architectural styles that the community believed was appropriate for Lyons Avenue and for future development. So just more examples showing that interactive process. And we used a similar type approach where you had different color stickers and you were able to place that on the maps to really make it easy for everyone to understand, regardless of how much you knew about architecture or planning processes, period. This is the results of the October 13th meeting. So pretty much confirming that Craftsman, Victorian, and a little interesting is that Spanish was a little preferred more than Tudor. But as you can see, Craftsman and Victorian were really the desired architectural styles for Lyons Avenue, confirmed at the October 13th meeting. And we also saw some support for some taller buildings, potentially closer to 3 stories for some of our areas, if you're familiar where Smart and Final is, and some of the medical areas over in that area. So basically, what's next for the process? Well, we've talked to the community already about what their ideas were. So really what we're looking at now is starting to put something down on paper, start to take everything that we've heard and continue to hear and start to draft this document. So we're hoping to have a draft of it at the end of March for the community to actually take a look at. We'll be placing that on our website. We'll also be having another outreach meeting, probably at the park or the community room of Old Orchard 1 or 2, to share that document and to gain more feedback and make any changes that the community feels is appropriate. We're actually hoping to get up to Planning Commission in May through July to have them take a look at this document, after the attorneys have read it, after the community's read it, and then hopefully up to City Council in September and adopted in November of 2012. That's the end of my presentation. Any questions, we'd be happy to answer it, but I definitely encourage everyone to take a look at the website as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, I think I can do it. Right. Oh. Does this plan involve more density?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's just we're regulated under our general plan, so the limits have been set in the general plan. But this corridor plan takes a look at every property, so we might not even go up to the density allowed under the general plan. So there might be some properties where the density called out in the general plan isn't appropriate. So that's what we're looking at through this process.
Okay. Have you also looked at? I live nearby, so I'm concerned about the traffic, which is already pretty horrendous on Lyons, especially if there's an accident on the freeway and you get a diversion. It becomes impassable. Or an accident on Lyons, in fact.
Right.
How has that worked into your planning if you do have increased density at certain locations?
All the traffic numbers were accounted for in the general plan. So the zoning code doesn't really look at traffic counts or traffic impacts. That's all evaluated through the general plan process and through the environmental impact report for that general plan that was adopted over the summer. Anyone else?
I live in Bouquet Canyon, and there's some median reconstruction going on there right now. What is that about? Is that part of the?
That's not part of this. No, that's not part of this process. That's actually a different department, our landscape maintenance district division.
Great.
So they're currently doing all that work, and I don't know too much about it, but my understanding is that we've received some grants, I believe federal, to pay for those improvements.
Is the process for Bouquet Canyon, I understand that's in the future, is the process for Bouquet Canyon going to be similar to the Lyons?
Exactly. So preliminary talks of Sierra Highway would probably be the next one, and then from there we'd probably go over to Bouquet or Soledad. We're hoping to do about one of these every year to a year and a half. So after Lyons, we'll probably jump right on the next one of Sierra and then get over to Bouquet.
So you would be looking at the kind of buildings and changing buildings and what?
Exactly. So maybe when we talk to the community in your neighborhood over there, maybe we're told that the architectural style that you currently have is you like it and you want to continue to see that. So the document would reflect that. So it's really community-based. These form-based codes, and there's a lot of them going around the country, are really driven by community input, and community feedback.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Our biggest problem here in Santa Clarita is traffic. Is there any intention of Lyons continuing east, either to Central Park or to 14?
I'm not a traffic engineer, so unfortunately I don't have the answers for you there. But like I said, all that stuff was looked at in our general plan document. So and maybe in the future you could have one of our traffic engineers come and talk to you guys. I don't know if one's come in the past. But I'd be happy to pass that on if you'd like.
Hello. This is probably a traffic engineer question too, but since the medians have gone in on Lyons close to the freeway, the 76 station there is losing 50% of its business because you can't make a left turn into it, nor can you make a left turn out to go down to Railroad. What's the city going to do if they go out of business? Who else would want to build in there? And that's Circle K, 76 gas station, and Wendy's.
Right.
And they say they have gotten in touch with the city and told them, you know, they're losing 50% of their business.
Right, I understand. I'll pass that information on.
Was Canyon Country asked what kind of architecture they wanted here when they put all the Disneyland stuff up?
When we come over to, are you talking about Soledad or which area?
Whole area. Every store here now has a little tower with a little fancy stuff around it.
Right.
They're all alike.
Right. I mean, we currently.
But I don't remember ever being asked or seen it in the paper that anybody was asked.
Right. Well, currently our city has design guidelines for every community throughout the city. And that was a public hearing process. It went through the Planning Commission. Don't remember exact timeline, but it was a few years ago. It was updated, and also went through the City Council. But it's going to be a great comment when we come over with these corridor plans or for our future zoning code process to provide that feedback. You know, to express that you're unhappy with the current architecture. And provide the feedback for what the future development. We can't go in and make people change their property. I mean, that's an invasion on their property rights. But what we can do is work with property owners for when they come in the future and want to modify their property, basically express to them what the community wants to see in their neighborhoods.
I have two questions. One, the bottom line to all this. I can understand new construction will now need to meet the visual standards and stuff, but old construction, if they don't do any improvements and stuff, does it stay as it is?
Basically, and you know, this language is being written right now, but what we're looking at doing is really having two components to the development code. The first component would be a property owner who comes to the city and wants to do a refacade. And probably one that you're all familiar with is the one that we did a few years ago for the Big Lot Shopping Center over here. So when a property owner comes in, and it just naturally happens over time, you know, they need to stay competitive. You know, you have new shopping centers coming in, and they're not able to rent their spaces because the new shopping center looks better, and, you know, that tenant wants to go to that center. So it's only a matter of time till property owners do come forward and say, hey, I want to change my shopping center to be competitive with the rest of the market. So basically this document is going to tell that property owner what that center should look like, what's accepted by the community when they do that.
So in other words, it would be initiated by the property owners and they wouldn't be forced to comply by certain date.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Then secondly, and the biggest thing is why can we not do the surveys for all the other areas, Bouquet, Soledad, and et cetera, all at one time? I mean, you know, I can understand where the planning and drawing, you have only so many resources, but it doesn't appear to me that it would be that difficult to at least get everyone started at once. Right. Instead of doing, you know, I'm probably 4 years out before you even start to ask me. You know? Right.
Well, I mean, in all reality, it does take a lot of work, and I mean, we're in a tough state with our economy right now. All this work is being done by city staff. I'm leading this effort. I mean, I've done everything from make the website and worked with the community to obtain that feedback. So, I mean, we're really trying to push these through as fast as we can. And in retrospect, a lot of other jurisdictions that are doing these corridor plans usually takes them about 2 to 3 years for each corridor. So our director and our manager actually want to see that happen a lot faster. So that's why we're really pushing for that 1 year to 1.5 year mark in adopting these corridor plans. And something interesting or worth pointing out too is SantaClaritaCorridorPlan.com is going to be the website for all communities. So that's why it doesn't say Lyons Corridor Plan. It's Santa Clarita Corridor Plan. So when we do get to Sierra Highway next, it will be that same website where you're going to be able to see that information and take that survey. But we could explore possibly doing some other surveys too in the near future.
When you're talking about Sierra Highway, where are you talking?
The boundaries haven't been set yet, but obviously, I mean, we can't go into the county's jurisdiction, so it would go as far north, most likely to the border between unincorporated LA County and the city.
I'd just like to say, I think what you're doing is great, especially with the community involvement stuff. But I think you just answered my question too, and how you can accelerate this is put
Right.
more of this process on the internet.
Right.
And instead of having people actually travel to meetings and stuff, they can pick out facades and stuff like your normal surveys and stuff.
Right.
So to me, I believe that process can be accelerated if it was worked on. To do that, and I just hate to see the next 4 or 5 programs you have take 4 or 5 years before you even start them.
Well, one thing we can do is if the community believes that there's an area, and like I said, we threw up those other streets, but maybe there's a street that the community believes staff should focus on next. Kind of put that higher on the priority list. We definitely entertain that, and moving a street up.
You mentioned Plaza.
I'm sorry.
I'm hoping that one of the requirements is that every building will have to have large enough address numbers on it so that you can see it as you drive down Lyons. When you are driving by yourself, you're really fortunate that you don't have an accident, because you have to drive pretty slow to even try and find one number in several blocks.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Write that down.
Is that on the list?
That's
6-foot letters.
well, one thing that we currently do in our zoning code, and I'll be sure to bring that back to the team, is we actually require addresses to be on all the monument signs that you see when you drive in a shopping center. So I'll take that down and make sure we address that or take a look at it for you. Thank you.
Not very many of those yet.
You mentioned Plaza out here in Canyon Country. Are you talking about the one on Golden Valley? Builder went in there and didn't rent half the stores and stuff?
What's that?
Golden Valley and the 14 freeway?
What about that center?
I want to know if they're going to put a divider down there from the 14 freeway down Golden Valley Road so we can't make a left-hand turn out of our houses, about 500 homes daily. And like they did up on Lyons Avenue, like the lady said, you can't make a turn out of the gas stations. That'd be a big inconvenience if they did it. The city did take over doing the landscaping by our brick wall by Golden Valley, which they're paying for, which is nice. But they put a divider in there and put trees in it so it makes it look nice. Would be really inconvenient if we had to make a right-hand turn to go out of the place and we couldn't, just like the lady said, up Lyons Avenue. That is causing a major traffic jam. I wish they get the park and ride the heck out of there. They put double lines up there. You can't make a left turn out of there. You come down our complex. They make U-turns. We've had several accidents up there, rear-end collisions, everything. I know. I went over and talked to Gus at the city hall several times about it. He knows me.
Right, and Gus would be the best person to talk to about that.
He's been good about it and stuff. And the garbage up to Golden Valley looks like a crap. They don't clean it up anymore. I mean, it's not Valencia, so you know what? That's the way it goes.
Yeah, Gus is definitely the best person to talk to about the medians.
And they don't have the money to build the bridge right now. It's on the thing, they're waiting. But I'm just wondering, concerned if they're going to block that off so we can't make a left turn out of there and stuff. And would Gus know about that? Is there some way I can get the plans of what they're doing with it?
I was going to recommend, letting me take down your number before the end of the meeting, and I'd have Gus call you. But yeah, Gus or Ian Perry are the two to talk to about the roads.
We heard about this and stuff and doing the stuff you're doing and stuff. I mean, it's good. It's going to make the city look better. But when it inconveniences kids going to school and cross a 4 major highway and they don't stop for the red light at the corner of Green Mountain, you know what? It's life is concerned to be the thing to take care of.
All right, that's all.
Thank you.